Hi guys, Evan here. Welcome to PT30 Game 3. This game is an advanced ordering game, and I think as far as advanced ordering games go, it's really tough. The first two games of the section are a little easier to make up for it, so you should expect to have, ideally, some extra time to crank through this one. But this is a tough nut to crack, so we're going to show you how to do it here. At first, it looks like it's going to be pretty easy. You've only got these 5 cars to handle. So whenever you're doing an ordering game with fewer than 7 variables, maybe you think it's going to be a little bit easier. So here we have 5 cars: Frank, Marquita, Orlando, Taisha, and Vinketta. And then if that was all we were doing, it would be a really easy game. But we have a characteristic to keep track of what happens to these cars. They're going to get a regular, a super, or a premium wash. So like we do with any category or characteristic, we're going to keep track of that on another line. So down here on the first line is where we'll be putting the various cars. That's our list right here. And then up here, we'll determine whether it gets one of these 3 types of washes: a regular, a super, or a premium wash. That's the setup. Moving on to the rules, we've got the first car does not receive a premium wash. Sorry, it doesn't receive a super wash. So no super wash here. It's got to be R or P in this first line up here. And then we also get a bit of additional information that at least one car gets a super wash. So I put that as AL1S. So now we have exactly one car receives a premium wash, so X1P. You might want to just put 1P here. There, X1P is a little visual reminder that you can only have 1P in that line. Now, the second and third cars receive the same wash as each other, so I use a little bit of internal conditional diagramming for that. These arrows tell me that whenever this is, say, R, then this has to be R as well. If this was P, this would have to be P as well. These two have to be identical twins, basically. For the next rule, we get that neither Orlando or Taisha goes before Vinketta. So V-O-T, like that. One more sequencing rule. Marquita is washed before Frank, but after Orlando. So we've got OMF for the order here. And notice we've just taken care of everybody, right? Okay, and then there's just one last rule here, which is that Marquita has a regular wash, and then whatever the car before that is gets a regular wash as well. So we get a little block rule here. And you can maybe draw a little reminder here as well, R, it's up to you there. If you think you can remember it adequately just from this one, that's fine. So what do we do here? I think the wrong approach is to just charge ahead and start trying to answer the questions with just this information. When you see this right here, when you see this sequence, I'm thinking to myself, okay, that just took care of all 5. Maybe things are not so flexible within this order. Maybe we could do some scenarios here. I first look for any really basic inferences I can make, and these are common patterns in any sequencing chain. Like here, for example, V. There's 4 things that have to go after it. O, T, M, and F. That's going to force V into this one spot every time. So we can just write that straight into the diagram. Now, what's going on with the rest of this? Well, it's a little bit flexible because as long as you keep the O and F order, T can jump around a bit. You could have T here, you could have T back here. So we're not getting a lot of help out of that. But I want to know where this M is pretty desperately, because that's kind of a big block. And whenever you see a big block, you should be thinking, okay, where can that huge block go? And that's really what you're doing with the scenarios here, is looking at the placement of that block. There's only 2 places it can go. M is kicked out of the 5th spot because F always has to be after it, right? So we could never see M here, otherwise F's hanging off the edge, and that's violating that rule. Similarly, O is in front of it, so, the earliest M could be ever is here. That's keeping M just to this 3 and 4 spot. So I'm going to write my scenarios out with the M block here, M, R, R, and then I'll get another one where M's in 4. So let me copy that over. So here's our second game board. Now we're popping M into fourth. We put R here. And now don't forget this little conditional rule that you have to do in here, that 2 and 3 are the same. So I draw this MRR block, but now this is an R. That's going to make this an R as well. So now we've got a lot of the order filled in, and we can do a lot more too. So, for example, down here, F has to be after M, so we pop that in. The only thing we don't know is the placement of O and T, so we can represent that as a split option, OT. And then what about the top line? Well, we know we need at least one S, right? So that's going to have to go here. So this whole order is basically taken care of, except there's some ambiguity about O and T. Here, the O has to go before the M, according to our chain here. And what we're not going to know here is where F and T are. So F, T, we just get that diagrammed out here. Then we know we need at least one S to go in these back two. And then if it's not an S, it could be, you know, either an R or a P. We're not sure. So there's a little bit more ambiguity up in this scenario 1. Let's label these now. This can be scenario 1, and this can be scenario 2 down here. Otherwise, we're completely ready to roll, so I head into the questions. Question 11 is the acceptability question. We're not going to bother with that because it's just easy. Take your rules one at a time. Make sure they're not violated anywhere. Here you end up with the answer of B. For 12, we've got to look at both scenarios, but we're told that if Venketta's car does not receive a premium wash, what must be true? So what we're doing here is we're kicking out the premium wash option here. And we need to have at least one premium, right? So what that's going to mean up top is that this is either P or S, and this is either P or S. And then actually this scenario is not going to work out, right? Because you can't get the one premium that you need down here. So we're only looking at this top one now. So what must be true in this scenario where Venketta is not getting the premium wash? Orlando and Venketta's cars receive the same kind of wash as each other? Yeah, they're both going to have to get a regular wash. So bam, the first answer choice we look at is the right answer, 12A. Okay, 13. The last two cars washed receive the same kind of wash as each other. Then which of the following could be true? So how can we do that, have the same wash as each other? It's not possible down in this scenario. So we're only looking up here. And remember, we know we need to have an S in one of these two. So this is going to have to be both S. And then we need our one P, so this is going to have to be P in the first spot. Venketta's getting a P wash. So what could be true in this situation? Orlando's car third. No, that's out just because it's not working in this scenario. How about T in fifth? T in fifth. Yeah, looks like that could be true. Bam, we see that right here. Whereas these other ones, you know, if you go through them, you're going to find out they don't work out. So B's our correct answer. 14's just asking us what must be true, so we're looking for something that's true in both scenarios. And this kind of question, to me, indicates that this scenario way of doing the game, that's probably how the test makers were thinking that this would be best executed, because it makes it so easy to solve a problem like 14. People who figure this stuff out are going to have a big advantage. So Venketta's car receives a premium wash. That doesn't look like it has to be true. Exactly 2 get a super. Again, no. I'm looking for something really promising here. Fifth car super wash. Looks like that could change up a little bit up in this scenario anyways. So I'm not totally crossing these off yet because I might have missed something, but I'm looking for an easier answer that jumps out at me. The fourth car receives a super wash. Again, no. I'm just moving along looking for something that's clearly apparent from both of these. And then I get to E. The second car receives a regular wash. Yeah, that has to be true in both of these diagrams. So that gives us E as the correct answer for 14. Okay, 15. Complete an accurate list of the cars that have to receive a regular wash. Well, you just look at this diagram and see who's got a regular in both of them. And if we look at it, we know M is getting a regular wash. That was a rule straight up, right? So any answer choice that doesn't have M would be wrong, but they all have it. And then the only other person that looks like they really have to have one is O, because whether O's in 2 or 3 here, it's getting a regular wash. So I think it's important to have the confidence to just say, okay, it's only O and M. right? And that's answer choice B. Now, as if this game wasn't hard enough, we get a rule suspension question. So basically, all the things that we really know about these two boards get thrown out the window. So you basically have to re-diagram this. We've got a new car, Jabron, coming in. Jabron's car is getting washed now in addition to these other ones. So I moved my scenario 2 out of the way and I get another little board going down here, this time with 6 squares instead of 5. And then I've got J coming in. I think the really important thing to realize about this is it now removes the requirement that 2 and 3 be regular washes. And why is that exactly? Well, because now M could go in the 5th spot, and then we get the RR here, and then 2 and 3, these ones that have to be the same, on this top line, they no longer have to be regular washes. They could be, say, super washes, for example. So I just kind of want to take a peek at this and see if maybe some of that thinking answers the question. And I'm looking for something that kind of jumps out at me right away, right? Just kind of looking flexibly at this new order that's possible, where we could have M in the 5th spot. We could have M, here, and then we would have that thing triggered. But there's a little more flexibility now. So what cannot be true? A, Orlando receives a premium wash, so O with P above it. That looks like maybe it's something that still can't be true, right? O still has to have V in front of him. So O can never be in that first spot where you can get the premium wash, right? And the only other place you can have a premium wash ever, and this is true even in our new diagram, is back here, right? You could never have a premium wash in 2 or 3 because then all of a sudden you'd have 2 premium washes and you're breaking this rule. So 2 or 3 isn't possible. But with this diagram here, even with Jabron in, the latest you could ever have O is right here in 4. So O, M, F. And then with M there, right, and that's forced because of the order, then you're going to have R here, and O will not be doing premium again. So no matter what, whether you put O in first spot is impossible. Whether you put O in here, or put it in the 4th spot, you're always going to run into a situation where O is getting either a regular or a super wash. So really, really hard question. For that one, what I would say is most people should probably just make a guess answer on that, and that's true of a lot of suspension questions. And if you get the time at the end of the section, you can go back and redo that when you're relaxed and not stressed. But I don't think it's worth it to be spending 3 or 4 minutes on this one question. There's a whole nother game on the other side of this, so you got to get to that. Okay, so that's the analysis for PT30 Game 3. If you have the scenarios, I think it went really quickly. Only 16 is going to give you a significant amount of trouble. So make sure you saw the conditions that led to us spotting those scenarios. We had the relatively fixed chain here, and there was a block rule that we wanted to figure out, maybe this thing can't go in a lot of places. And we always are thinking about that with block rules, and we're always thinking about the possibilities when we've got a chain. So if you didn't see the scenarios possibility, try to be a little hard on yourself and think, okay, maybe I got to think more hard about when scenarios are going to be appropriate for a game, and keep a better eye on the conditions that lead to using them. Okay, that's it for PT30 Game 3. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.